Next round of statements here, presented by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. The best way to get a sweat on games tonight or in the future. So easy, Judd can use the Underdog Fantasy app.
And I do.
Which allows you to, for instance, for these basketball playoff games and hockey playoff games, you can pick over-unders as part of the pick'em games and win up to 20 times your money in a single night. There's also season-long football drafts coming up here, which makes it really easy there's no waivers, no trades, no lineup setting. You draft a roster. Underdog selects the highest-scoring players to be your starters after the fact. And so there's no stressing over the day-to-day or week-to-week management. And you can enter as many leagues, I think, as you want to. Mm-hmm. So it's a blast. You can help us out by entering the promo code SCORE, S-K-O-R, and Underdog Fantasy will double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy. All right. I think you guys are going to go in a different direction than me. I think you guys are going to take this a step further than me based on some of our exchanges, and that's fine. But I'm going to start with all this stuff coming out from the Utah Jazz. So Quinn Snyder's out. He's just basically said it's been 8 years, and it's not like a falling out. I just feel like it's time to leave, and then he'll probably take a year off and then take over for like Greg Popovich or something.
Sure.
So the Utah Jazz are losing Quinn Snyder. Donovan Mitchell is unsettled and unnerved and wondering what it means for the franchise's future, end quote, from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. And so my statement is the NBA Western Conference is crumbling, and the Timberwolves are on the rise. So Denver is up in the air at this point with losing their Pobo to the Wolves. Utah's up in the air, losing their coach, and now their star player is pissed off. The Lakers remain in shambles because they can't figure out how to put a team around LeBron James, or actually LeBron James can't figure out how to put a team around LeBron James because he's the one that wanted all those ancient veterans around him. Mm-hmm. The Suns have been amazing, but they kind of missed their window. There's moves to be made, but Chris Paul is getting older by the day. He's 37 years old now. Now, on the flip side, the Clippers should be better and healthier, and the Pelicans, if they get Zion back, should be better and healthier. And the Mavs might try to add someone for Luka, but they're kind of strapped for cash. But there's some teams right above the Timberwolves that are just reeling right now, losing very key pieces, and the Wolves are on the rise, and I love it.
I really thought that you were going to have a trade proposal. No, I was waiting for you. Like I thought for sure you'd be like, no, I don't have one. I thought you being the
speculation.
I need a few days, maybe on Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Okay.
The reason I didn't go there,
saw that and salivated and thought Donovan Mitchell.
Well, I saw Declan put out a graphic on the Score North Twitter account, like kind of hinting, Donovan Mitchell might be available.
Yeah, if you feel,
watch.
I would just be. He just signed a max extension. He's under contract for 4 more seasons.
Yep.
He's the centerpiece of that franchise. He's like 25 years old. Okay. Would it be amazing to have him as, and you wouldn't really have a true point guard unless you played a really small lineup with like McLaughlin, Donovan. Now I'm doing it. Now I'm putting him in a Timberwolves.
Well, I knew you'd get to it. Look at this. It's not hard to work you. Come on.
So could you swap D'Lo as kind of an expiring contract? Some draft. You have to be probably 3 first-round picks or something. Listen, there's a way down this path.
Would you do like what would you do?
Would it work? You'd have Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards as your primary ball handlers. Mm-hmm. But those guys aren't like true point guards necessarily. I think Donovan Mitchell's a better ball handler, and he can play. He plays some. He's a combo guard. And he's definitely the initiator of offense, but would you need a true point guard in the mix there at some point? Would your lineup be too small with true point guard, Donovan Mitchell, and Anthony Edwards? I mean, hell, I'm here for it. But I wasn't going that far yet because I just don't think there's any chance he gets traded. But I guess he could demand his way out and they could crumble. But if you're Utah, why would you trade 4 years of 25-year-old Donovan Mitchell? Wouldn't you just hire a coach that he likes?
Probably. But I mean, when you lead the reckless speculation lifestyle,
all right.
You don't say why would you? You say why wouldn't you?
Okay.
Why not?
Let me pull up his contract. Hold on.
I got it.
All right, I'll throw a trade at you.
Okay. All right, because I got one more question for you after that. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is amazing. So what would have to happen is Donovan Mitchell would have to demand a trade, which Ben Simmons did the same thing with a bunch of years left in his contract, and the Sixers played hardball for the whole year.
Yep.
So would he be willing to sit out games and do that whole thing? I don't think he's going to sit out games. So really, the Jazz would have to say, all right, well, you don't want to be here anymore. I guess we'll just blink and trade you. Mm-hmm. So Donovan Mitchell is under contract for 4 more seasons, $30 million, 32, 34, 37. He makes almost exactly the same amount of money this upcoming year as D'Angelo Russell makes. And I'm going to actually piggyback a second statement here for you guys before I get into this, because my second statement is, we don't know what swings Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry are capable of. But we just saw them put a phone call into Pat Riley. They literally pursued Pat Riley to be the president of basketball operations, according to reports, at some point in the last 6 months.
I wonder if it was possibly a lunch. Miami, A-Rod called him up, said, Pat, let's go have a bottle of Dom Perignon. Let's go have a good steak.
And Pat entertained it for exactly 0 seconds and said, guys, I've been living in Miami for almost 3 decades, running this franchise. I'm in my mid-70s. But the point isn't Pat Riley. The point is there is no swing that these guys won't take. They aren't mired in 30 years of Minnesota Timberwolves misery and inferiority complex, right? They're coming in here from their own perspectives, from their own, professional success, and saying, why can't we land one of the 5 best presidents of basketball operations? Let's go down the list. Who's available? We'll double your salary. Who wants it, right? And Tim Connolly stepped up. So as we sit here and kick around like, you guys want me to throw a Donovan Mitchell trade idea out there? Listen, these guys probably put phone calls in, right? Why would these guys not be putting? They put a phone call into Pat Riley. Why wouldn't they put a phone call in for Donovan Mitchell?
Yep.
So he makes about the same amount of money as D'Angelo Russell. So from a contract standpoint, you can make it work very easily. It's the assets that you would have to come up with. What would Utah need? They're not just going to do it for draft picks, right? So you'd probably have to start with 3 first-round picks and something else of value. Probably Jaden McDaniels. Mm-hmm. So I'm just making this up on the fly, but would you trade D'Angelo Russell's expiring contract and Jaden McDaniels and 3 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell? And they might say no to that. They might say no to that.
Boy, so 3 first-round picks, they can't be in consecutive years, so they'd be spread out as I would be getting pretty good as well, so they wouldn't be ideally really good first-round picks.
And it would probably have to start, because this isn't going to happen in the next 3 weeks. So this would probably have to be starting with next year's first round pick.
He's a special player. Mitchell's a special player. I'd give it strong consideration.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it.
Because Phil, your point is spot on. These guys are clearly into splash moves. And we can, we can say or have people say, well, Glenn has to sign off still. Glenn is no longer running this team, okay? Let's make that incredibly clear, right?
Look me in the eye.
They are running, they are clearly doing things and then calling Glenn and saying, this is just about done. Would you like to sign off? Which I'm cool with. But here's where I think you're onto something with the amount of splash moves that these guys want to make this as they said, to parrot exactly what the Wolves said in 2005, right? A world-class organization. You don't do that by being shy. You do that by doing what they've started and continuing it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think, although it is at this point probably completely reckless speculation, I also think it's worth thinking about what are their next moves? Because their next moves aren't going to be like, okay, we've done enough now. I think their next moves are going to continue to very much fall in what we consider to be splashy, sexy type moves to sell tickets and gain more interest.
They put a phone call into Pat Riley. Mm-hmm. That's what they think of what they're trying to build here. There are no basketball limitations on what they think they can do. Now, there might be Timberwolves limitations and real world limitations.
They're not looking at that. I agree with you, though.
Can you imagine,
I agree completely with what you're saying
with Pat Riley?
But yes, because you're not doing it as the bashful, embarrassed Wolves.
Yeah, you're doing it as
these guys are we are big deals. They're not trying. Because we work this backwards, right? Because to us, it's it's Glenn's Wolves and they're being sold, but it's the Wolves.
Yeah.
A-Rod, Lori, they think of this as, we just bought an NBA team. We're a huge deal, and if we want to call Pat Bleep and Riley, we'll call Pat Riley. That's how they think.
It's amazing.
I like it.
I got a Wolves statement for you.
Okay.
If the Warriors can find a Jordan Poole, so can the Wolves. So Jordan Poole was a late round pick, 28th overall 3 years ago. So the Warriors obviously well outside the lottery. They're near the end of the draft. They've been mostly there for the better part of the last 7 years. And when Poole was drafted, he wasn't a star right away. Took a little bit to blossom. But now he's in his third season. I believe he won Most Improved Player in the NBA this year. He led the league in free throw percentage. His defense isn't great, but he's a quality piece on a contending team, right? And the Warriors are certainly built a little differently than the Wolves. Helps when you have Clay and Steph and Draymond and everything. But Minnesota, all things considered, is going to be outside of the lottery, right? If Tim Connelly is building what we're supposed to be seeing and the Wolves are going to be making playoff runs, there's no longer the Wolves in the lotteries talk that we're talking about, which we've mostly been doing for the better part of the last 15 years. And Connelly has drafted really stud players with the Denver Nuggets outside of those lottery picks. So Jordan Poole didn't look like a star right away, but the Wolves have to hit on those draft picks. And I think Jordan Poole is a prime example of a guy who's a really quality player who is outside of the draft, and the Warriors, who are a very smart, forward-thinking organization, were able to find him. And if you can find a Jordan Poole, so can the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Poole, he wasn't even really a star in the Big Ten. Like, he wasn't. Right. He was a good player, obviously good enough to be a first-round draft pick, but a late first-round pick. But they saw a 6'5", multi-positional guy that could shoot in college, and he's only gotten better as a shooter since entering the NBA. I mean, his first year in the league when he was 20 years old, he shot under 30% from three, and now he's become this lethal three-point scorer. His free throw percentage has gone way up in the 3 years he's been in the league. So, yeah, can you find those hardworking guys that have some potential? You know, they're 6'4", 6'6", they're wing players. So, yeah, I think Tim Connelly has to build the Wolves that way, right? You're not going. He even said it at his press conference. Lori and A-Rod can pitch all they want to big free agents if you have max cap space in one summer from now. But ultimately, if a guy wants to live in Los Angeles or a guy wants to live in Miami, I mean, when the Wolves were pursuing D'Angelo Russell a couple years ago in free agency, he said, "Oh man, the Warriors are offering the same amount of money, and so I love me some Karl Anthony Towns." Now they swung a trade for him like 5 minutes later, but. Yeah, you're going to have to find guys like that if you want to take this thing to the levels that you aspire to, for sure.
Yep, and I think the key thing is Conley's going to bring stability. And, like, that's the thing is, aside from Flip, this team has never, for years and years, been stable, right? Like, it's always been, like, Khan's a joke. But, I mean, Tibbs was the antithesis of stability because Tibbs loved an environment in which no one felt safe. And like you watch Golden State, and yes, they've got some great players, but they also have a blueprint that they can put guys into, and they thrive. And like that's the thing that the Wolves have, for years, haven't come close to. And this team punted and screwed up so many draft picks, including the second round picks can be incredibly good. Like those guys can be the key, right? But I mean, how long did like McHale just be like, I'll sell one off, or somebody sold a pick off? And I think what Conley brings most importantly is not just the ability to be a name and potentially make some splash moves, but beyond that, provide the exact type of stability from the top on down with Finch that this franchise desperately needs and has not had for years.
Funny you use that word. We'll come back to that word desperate in a second. But Judd, go ahead. What's your statement?
All right, my statement is this: off the Eastern Conference Finals in the National Hockey League, which have been fantastic. My statement is look to the Rangers. The Rangers have a blueprint that I absolutely love. Fun team, younger team in some ways. But if the Wild can learn things from the four teams left, I think the Rangers are the top one. The goaltender, phenomenal. He's great, right? A good, young, fast team. They're incredibly fast. They're like where the Wild wants to get speed-wise. They certainly can play a physical game if necessary. But this is a team that, like 4 years back, halfway through their season, if I'm not mistaken, sent a letter to their fans saying, we're bailing because it's not working. We are going to regroup. We're going to make changes. We're going to draft well. And they have built up a team now that absolutely belongs as one of the final 4 teams left in the conference. And the Wild didn't send that out, but when they bought out Parisi and Suter and traded all of the guys that they traded, they definitely hit what could be considered a hard reset button. And I think if you look at where the Rangers are right now, not next season, but eventually, I think that's where the Wild can get to successfully.
Mm-hmm. A conference finals would be a nice step at some point.
Huge step.
That's going to be this year. Yeah.
A 2-1 lead in the conference finals.
They're probably a little premature with that, unfortunately. But, I mean, there's still steps left here, including the most important one, too. You got to get goaltending right and center. You cannot go into the playoffs with like, well, our guys are pretty good. You have to have a top 1 or 2 that you know are damn good.
Yeah. I'm actually going to, I don't want to just tuck this statement away. So I think I'm going to give you a little slice of it, but I think we should actually flesh it out maybe on tomorrow's show.
Okay.
This just came across. I didn't see this until we started doing the shows today, but the Star Tribune has a recap of one of the, I think it's the kid of Stan Kroenke, Josh Kroenke. Is he the kid of Stan Kroenke? It's from the Kroenke Denver Nuggets ownership group. And Josh Kroenke was speaking to the media after Tim Connolly was poached by the Timberwolves for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And he called the Timberwolves a desperate franchise. And there's a lot more in here. But I guess I'll give a quick statement and then we can flesh this out more maybe on tomorrow's show. But the Nuggets are hilariously chapped by the Timberwolves stealing their Pobo.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Absolutely chapped.
He used the word desperate 2 or 3 times in these quotes I'm seeing, and is basically saying that, like, you know, if desperate teams are gonna make phantom equity offers, like, there just comes a point where what are we supposed to do?
You know what? Don't be cheap,
okay,
Cronkies. Don't be cheap. Pay up.
Oh man, the Crockies. All right, yeah, we'll do. I'm going to organize these quotes, and we can do more maybe on tomorrow's show.
What a despicable group of people.
Yeah, the way they kind of forced the Rams out of St. Louis.
Yeah,
it's kind of shady.
Yeah, Stan's not my favorite guy.
Is it Buffoon of the Week time here, Declan?
Yeah,
let's do it.
It's Buffoon of the Week.
All right, every single week we crown a Buffoon of the Week on the Mackey and Judd show, and I don't know, this feels like a self-serving, potentially selfish rant here by Declan, but you've been chapped about this for 24 hours, so go ahead.
All right, here's the deal. All right, I golf once a week. I love golfing. In the last 2-3 years, I've really started golfing a lot more, and there's definitely been some strides to my game, but I know the ceiling of my game. I know I'm still pretty bad at golf, but you know what? I'm always quick. I don't waste time. I'm not going to be out there waiting for a green to clear. I'm not going to be out there taking my time, taking 7 different practice swings or analyzing my putt from the front or the back. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to hit the GD ball. Mm-hmm. All right. And I'm so obnoxious. I hit a red ball because I can't find anything. Okay. So I use a red ball when I even golf, which is a little much, but you know what? I don't care.
No, I actually like that. I think if there's a way to easily find golf balls in the rough, then that's good.
Yeah, and I'm in the rough.
Maybe if you took more time, you'd be a better golfer. I'm just saying.
Hey, maybe. So yesterday at an unnamed golf course, me and my normal group that I golf with, we're there, and it was a little packed, but whatever. It's a beautiful Sunday in Minnesota, so I'm not too surprised that it was a full golf course. There was a foursome in front of us that took their sweet time the entire course. Waited for the green to clear on every hole, whether it was a par 3, a par 4, or a par 5. The 2 groups in front of them were a whole hole ahead of that group. And the entire time...
Wait, are you saying they would wait for the green to clear at the tee box of a par 4?
Yes. And by the way, these 4 men, at least 3 of them were about as good as me. So, can't drive very far. can't hit very consistently, and are taking their sweet time, which is not like me. So the entire time we are waiting for these dudes, and now we're getting backed up, right? There's people behind us. There's a mutiny now behind us because they think we're taking slow. No, the group in front of us is taking their sweet time, the entire damn course. And I get it, okay? It's a city course. There's some lapses. Sometimes you got to go when you go to a city public course like that. I get it. I understand it. But dudes, pick up your ball. You're not Tiger Woods. Don't be looking all over the place for it. Don't be hitting 2 at a time. Just pick up your ball and hit it, man. And for God's sakes, if you know you're being slow, don't be jackasses about it. They knew they were being slow. At one point, we were going up to 12, okay? And we've been almost golfing for 4 hours at this point.
Oh, that's aggressive.
We teed off at 9:28. We were on hole 14 at 1:30.
Oh,
1:30.
I'm going home.
To the point, we left. We left. We did not finish our round.
Yeah, I would.
We did not finish our round because these jackwagons were taking
Did you guys just do
time.
the Minnesota passive aggressive thing and just like let it happen, or did you say something to them to get them to play faster?
We hit a couple balls.
And where's the marshal? Why is there no one riding around?
There's a guy at the start, but there is no marshal at this course on this Sunday afternoon, which blew my mind. These guys were definitely having some drinks and having some fun. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a couple seltzers, as Phil brilliantly pointed out on Twitter when he saw my tweet yesterday. But they knew they were being jackwagons. We hit a couple balls towards them, like as in like, guys, you have to know you're playing very slow. And it got to the point where before we left, I pulled my cart up to the next tee box, and I kind of like put my club in the bag a little aggressively because I was frustrated at these guys.
Completely passive aggressive.
Aggressive, yeah.
Can't you ask just to pass them?
We wanted to.
Why did you ask to play through?
Guys, if you're going to play slow, because I mean,
did you explore
if
any
you're going
solutions?
Fast, you're going fast.
Yeah, no. Your solutions are no. So okay, your solutions are: can we play through, or can you guys play faster? Or I guess you could go and like get someone from the clubhouse. That's probably an unrealistic solution. But so you guys just like stewed for 4 hours, passive aggressively, and did and said nothing.
Well, we couldn't play through because then we'd be right behind the next guys who was a twosome. So then we would be behind another group. So there wasn't really an option to play through. There wasn't really an option. And then these guys,
maybe the group in front of you was more backed up than you think.
No. They weren't though. They were. I mean, they were playing faster, but then we would still be behind them. So it was these 4 dudes. They were being jackasses. Wasn't a fun time. Just pick up your ball and hit it, dude. That's all I'm saying. If you can be bad at golf, like I am bad at golf, but I love to do it, but I don't go out there and act like I'm on tour. And these jackasses that act like they're on tour waiting for a green to clear.
I feel like you need to confront them then.
I agree.
I should have confronted them. And that lesson learned.
Or just like swallow it and be like, okay, I can't do a thing about this.
I think if you
drink a lot.
Yeah, you're pointing out the problems here without bringing solutions to the table. I think that's that's my big takeaway here. That you guys passive aggressively stewed for 4 hours, allowing this to happen.
That sounds miserable, but by the way, like the whole thing sounds like it would just suck.
I'll tell you what. I was when I first started golfing in high school. And I used to play a course called, I think it was Pheasant Run at the time. Now it's Pheasant Acres, I believe, out in like Corcoran, Maple Grove.
Yeah, I remember ads for it.
I took lessons there when I was like 15 years old or whatever, and used to play there all the time for like 16, 17, 18 years old. So I didn't really know what I was doing. My buddy and I were out there one day, and there was a par 5, and we hit our drives 200 yards or whatever somewhere, and we're still like 250 yards away from the green, if not more, on a par 5. And so we're sitting out in the fairway and we're waiting for the green to clear, this is the reverse of, so I am the group now that Declan's talking about, which is, why are you waiting for the green to clear? There's no way you're going to pipe a 3-wood 17-year-old kid 250 yards like over water. You're laying up anyways.
You're going to fly it.
Keep it moving so that the guys on the tee box can hit their drives and keep the thing moving along.
Right.
And so we're sitting there waiting for the green to clear in the fairway, and from the tee box, this guy goes, this guy yells something like, I can't even, I'm trying to think if I can say this he says, "Hey, bleep hole, you're not going to hit it that far." Like, just something with a couple other expletives, a couple F words mixed in. And I was so offended in the moment, like, how does he know I can't hit it that far? Screw that guy, he was 100% right. Everyone overestimates their ability to, you're going to lay up anyway, so just hit your shot.
Just hit a shot, Ben.
And so I appreciate that guy doing something about it. He yelled something to me to keep play moving forward.
Right.
And so that would be my takeaway here is if you're pissed about it, ask to play through. And even if you ask to play through, it's a message to them like, speed it up.
Mm-hmm. There definitely should have been a conversation. I agree. We should have addressed them. And they were drinking heavily because even when we got up to the first par three at hole 7, there was that awkward like, oh, how we doing today, fellas? One of those
you gotta pass
conversations.
Right
and
there,
and they said, oh, we just took shots. So we all birdied the last holes. Like none of you birdied that hole. Okay. We all were behind you. We all knew how long you took. We saw the 4 shots.
They birdied the hole.
And that's why we took the shots, which was just not the case, man. We all saw you hit at least 4 shots before you were on the green.
You're in the woods, guy.
Yeah.
Is this potentially your last time on a weekend going to this course, though? Because it feels like this course invites that, and so it's a wild
frustrating
Sunday, they're cramming tee times like 8 minutes apart on Sundays.
This course actually holds a special place in my heart because it's where I broke 100 last year.
But you might not be done with it.
So I was excited to play because it was my first time playing last year when I broke 100.
Gotcha.
And I think we made the conscious effort in the parking lot to cross it off the list.
Okay.
I am in a scramble in a couple weeks. My first ever scramble with the same group that I golf with, so that'll be an experience.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, I think we might cross this one off the list for a little bit.
I recommend not making the mistake of not going to Meadows at Mystic. You know who doesn't play slow? People who golf at Meadows at Mystic. They always know golf etiquette and rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're an award-winning 18-hole public golf course, okay? And they offer unique, challenging, and scenic and a self-aware golf experience. They also have a full-service golf shop and top-of-the-line equipment. They have the Meadows Bar and Grill, which is where I like to be after or before my round. Book your tee time now at golfthemeadows.com. Book your tee time now, golfthemeadows.com to learn more. It's the Meadows at Mystic Lake.
Boom. All right. Glad Declan got that off his chest. And if you're out there and you're getting drunk on golf courses without self-awareness, just let people play through.
If everyone played like my speed, not like me, because that would be, no one would play golf well. But if everyone played with my speed, we could get so many rounds done in 3.5.
I feel like deciding in your foursome, though, to get really drunk is just going to present huge problems.
Right.
Like, it's different between a couple and shots.
Mm-hmm. Why are people allowed to get drunk and drive golf carts, too? Why is that the only loophole in America where you can get smashed and still drive?
You are correct.
It's not a bad point. I don't know.
Isn't it weird? I mean, we're watching the match last week with those 4 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And Patrick Mahomes was just pounding Coors Lights the entire time.
Damn right.
He's like,
no, of course, he
first hole, he's just pounding a Coors Light. All right. Anyhow, that's a wrap on this episode of Mackey and Judd. Tomorrow, Talkin' Jake from John Boy Media is going to come on and bring his Yankees perspective to this Twins show. Talk to you guys tomorrow.